So at SeCan, really what's new is it kind of goes back to something SeCan's been doing for many, many years, and that is building on the public-private partnerships that really make SeCan what it is today. And originally SeCan, when SeCan was formed, we were really the ultimate public-private partnership, and that SeCan was formed to commercialize those genetics that were developed by AAFC and other public breeding institutions. Over time, SeCan has really evolved to be a genetic supplier to our members of all kinds of genetics, not just public sector, but also from the private sector, and as well as traits as well. So currently, with the cutbacks with AAFC and so on, we're looking at more opportunities and more need to get involved upstream in research, not just distributing, commercializing the varieties, but also directing research and being involved with plant breeders in terms of funding their programs directly. So as such, we're involved right now in funding research right across Canada. We have about 16 different research projects generally at any one time underway, spanning soybeans, cereals, flax, pretty much all the major open pollinated crops across Canada. So as a not-for-profit association, we always like to say that our objective is to create value, not to extract value. And what that means is that for our member companies, we can offer them very effective, very efficient distribution and promotion of their products at a cost that's very, very minimal on a per unit basis. In fact, SeCan distributes roughly 40% of the certified seed across Canada, but we only employ 16 staff members. So that's very efficient on a per unit basis. So that's really, I guess, the advantage of being a not-for-profit, is we can drive the maximum value back to both our membership base as well as the genetic suppliers and breeders that we work with. So yeah, certainly in terms of the public-private partnership, going forward we see a much increased opportunity for SeCan to partner with not only our existing breeding partners, but also more with private breeders down the road. And it's kind of an exciting time because as we know, inevitably there are going to be more cuts in the public sector, but at the same time they're looking, I think, more aggressively to develop very fruitful partnerships with organizations like SeCan. So going forward, we're quite optimistic that SeCan is the one to really broker that relationship, if you like, between seed growers and processors across Canada and those breeding institutions that exist in both the private and public sector. So SeCan has been actually a fairly large private sector investor in wheat for quite some time. Actually, for about the last 15 years, SeCan has been investing directly in wheat research, particularly in projects like the midge-tolerant wheat, which we've introduced in recent years. And I think going forward, we see increasing opportunity for SeCan to leverage up dollars with other private sector partners, as well as the federal government. While they are scaling back their own research and development activities, they are willing to partner and certainly look at more partners outside of AAFC. So we're optimistic about our ability to continue funding wheat research in a very meaningful way going forward. In recent years, we've heard a lot more about private sector investment in wheat, but a lot of that is really still out on the horizon. We haven't seen a lot of activity on the ground yet at this point, and undoubtedly that's coming, and that's going to be a very positive thing for the industry, a positive thing for the seed growers and processors, and a positive thing for SeCan, because we have a very positive working relationship with those genetic developers and look forward to building on that in the future. So SeCan has been quite involved in the consultation process in terms of evolving the wheat registration system in Canada. And it's our feeling that the system really isn't broken, it just needs to be tweaked somewhat. I think our CWRS and Western Durum classes are something that really need to be preserved, because those are sort of the flagship commodities of Canada in terms of export wheat. But we do feel and recognize that there is an opportunity to enhance really the CPS and the general purpose classes to make more diversity available to farmers and to really enhance the gene pool that's available to breeders. So if we can open those classes up somewhat, I think that's going to be very beneficial to really the seed industry and to farmers across Canada. Yeah, so I think going forward, new traits and genetics that are going to be introduced, really it will change the landscape somewhat, but maybe not as much as people think, because of the fact that you always hear that saying that you know, wheat is grown and processed and distributed kind of 50 miles at a time. And that's really, I think, what sets the cereal industry apart from canola, where canola can be centrally produced and really needs to be because of the you know, the costs associated with hybrid seed production. But cereals really lend themselves well to localized production and processing and distribution. So as such, that's very favorable to an organization, a distribution structure such as what SeCan has in place. I would say the huge opportunity, not just for SeCan, but that everyone's looking at is wheat in Western Canada. That answer is probably somewhat predictable, but really when you look at the number of acres out there and you look at the vast array of different types of products that we can produce and produce well in Canada, we're really just embarking on a whole new frontier, I think, in terms of the types of varieties that we can grow and the types of markets that we can access. We look at hard white spring wheat, for example, now that's really just getting ramped up in Western Canada, and I think those types of things are going to present tremendous opportunities for the seed industry and farmers across Western Canada.